you today. So would you welcome Well, great. If I wasn't going to cry, I'm already starting out crying. Thanks, Carol. All right. So, when Carol first asked me to come up and share my testimony with you all, I was super excited. I was like, yes, absolutely. I can't wait to share what God has been doing, what God has done. But I'm going to be honest with you, because we're friends now, right? You know, as I began to get ready to share and prepare what I was going to share with you guys, this doubt started to come in. And I began to deal with these, these insecurities. Like, what if what I'm going to share isn't really worth sharing? What if it's not really encouraging? Anyone else ever deal with insecurities? But, I felt the Lord gently correcting me and speaking to me, and I felt Him say to me, Monica, every woman in this place has a testimony. Everyone here has a story. And whether you realize it or not, Jesus is with us in the lowest of lows, and He's right beside us when we're on the mountaintops. And every story is worth sharing. Every journey is priceless. And so here's my story. One of the biggest things that I've learned is that our testimony isn't always just in the answered prayer, but it's weaved throughout our journeys. Mine began in 2005 when I married my husband, Paul. We decided early on that we were going to wait 1 year before starting our family. However, after 9 months of wedded bliss, I did not want to wait any longer. I wanted babies! And so we decided to start trying a little bit earlier than originally planned. And literally within 1 month of trying, I got pregnant. But let me back up a minute. Before we decided to even start trying, I had heard 2 names. I heard the name Faith. I'll never forget, I was in my bathroom blow drying my hair, not thinking about anything, certainly not baby names. But I heard the name Faith drop into my heart so loudly that I knew that it was God. And then I heard Faith Marie. And I knew that God was giving me the name of a future little girl. And then a couple of weeks later, I heard the name Zachary, which means God has remembered, or remembered by God. And so, when we found out that I was pregnant, my poor husband had no say in the baby names. We never opened up a baby name book. I just knew that we were either going to have a Faith Marie or a Zachary Robert, because can't argue with God, right? I also knew from the beginning that I was going to have a little girl, because I was a sister. My mom was one of 2 girls. At that point, I had 2 nieces. I knew about little girls. I could raise a little girl. I knew nothing about boys, so I was going to have a girl. So you can imagine my shock when a sonogram revealed that I was actually pregnant with a Zachary Robert. How many of you know the verse to be true? Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Amen. Little did I know just how much that verse would impact my life over the next 10 or 11 years. We were blessed with a beautiful, uneventful pregnancy and a long but purposeful labor that brought forth the most beautiful baby boy I've ever seen in my whole life, my little Zachary. And so when Zachary was about 10 months old, we decided that now would be the perfect time to expand our little family of 3. After all, our kids would be close in age, they'd grow up to be the best of friends, just like my sister and I had. But after about a year of trying and failing to get pregnant again, we decided to seek out a fertility specialist. And so over the next several years, we would go through fertility injections and acupuncture and holistic treatments and exploratory surgeries, more blood tests than I can even count, and enough negative pregnancy tests to cause some pretty good heartbreak and disappointment. As one of our last resorts, we decided to seek out an IVF doctor who confirmed that I had started early menopause, and so there was no chance that IVF would work for us. And so his recommendation was that we seek out an egg donor or try traditional adoption. Well, this news broke my heart because my desire was always to be pregnant again. I remember every negative pregnancy test would take my breath away. And I remember crying out to God and saying, God, what are you trying to teach me? What am I not learning? I have faith the size of a mustard seed. So what is it that I'm not doing right? Thinking that if I just knew what he was trying to teach me, then he'd answer my prayer. But what I've learned is that God isn't only in the answered prayer or the end result, but he's in the whole journey. He's in it for the long haul. He's with me when I'm angry and heartbroken and asking hard questions. He's with me in contentment and in celebration and in expectation and every single place in between. My life verse became Hebrews 11:1, the verse that I clung to. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet seen. And so after a lot of prayer and counsel and research, we decided to try embryo adoption through a program founded by James Dobson called Snowflake's Embryo Adoption. And this is a program that is made possible by families who have gone through the IVF procedure to grow their families. And many of them at some point come to a place where they feel that their family is complete. And so they are left with the decision of what to do with any remaining embryos. And so this program gives them the incredible opportunity to adopt out those embryos, or as we like to call them, their tiny unborn babies, to families like us who couldn't conceive. And so because the doctor said that I could easily carry a baby, I just wasn't producing eggs, this felt like the perfect fit for us. And so, the process is treated just like traditional adoption in that you do a home study and you create a family profile to give to potential donors. The process was long. We're summing it up quickly, but thanks, Susie. Thank you. But the process was long, and there's two things that I'll never forget about the process. And the first one was actually carrying the envelope down my driveway to the mailbox. And in the envelope was the contract that we had signed and our family profile. But it was also filled with our hopes and dreams for building our family. And I'll never forget putting it in the mailbox and just praying, Lord, let this envelope end up in the people's hands whose babies we are meant to adopt. And the second thing I'll never forget is the day that I got the email that a family had chosen us to adopt their embryos. The day that I received the email, we received information about the family, complete with pictures of their family, including their children, who would be the siblings of the babies that we were going to adopt. And I'll always remember that day as one of the days I felt the most loved and known by Jesus. I felt like I had prayed for so long, God, give me a sign, let me know when this is the family whose babies we're meant to adopt. And when I opened that email, I felt so known by God, so loved by Him. And as I looked at the pictures of the two boys who would be the biological siblings of the babies that we were adopting, I couldn't get over how much they looked like my little Zachary. And when I held a picture of myself at 5 years old next to the picture of one of the little boys, I couldn't believe it. He looked like he could be my brother. He could be my son. It was really unbelievable, and I just knew that God had answered our prayers. I felt like the God who created this big universe was walking beside little old me in this journey. I just felt so loved. And so we began the process of getting my body ready to accept these embryos, these babies, which meant more tests and procedures and injections. And months later, after a lot of ups and downs on the roller coaster, the day finally came for us to fly to Kansas, which was where our Snowflakes babies were waiting for us. And I left here declaring that I would come back pregnant. And I remember some of you were here at the Bible study that Tuesday night praying for me as I made that declaration. And so we flew to Kansas, and the next day when we got to the hospital, we were told that the embryos didn't look quite as healthy as they had originally thought, that something in the thawing process had possibly damaged them. And so they recommended that we have both embryos put in, which was not our original plan. And I remember through tears, Paul and I praying and just saying, Lord, nothing about this journey has been what we've planned. And so, Lord, just have your way. Thy will be done. And so we had the procedure, and the next day we flew back home, and we waited the infamous 2 weeks to find out if these babies had survived. And during those 2 weeks, I kept thinking about my little Faith Marie, my little vision of blonde hair and freckles on her nose, and I couldn't wait to celebrate this incredible thing that God had done. I couldn't wait to celebrate this little girl who, at this point, had only lived in my heart. And so we were devastated when 2 weeks later we got the phone call that neither baby had survived. We had lost them both. To say that my hopes and dreams and heart was shattered would be an understatement. That hours after that phone call, the days are still a blur. Like, I felt like God had broken my heart. And I remember Carol asking me, "Did you read your Bible?" And through tears I said, "Yep." A little YouVersion verse of the day that popped up the next day was Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet seen. And that actually kind of broke my heart, because I just felt like God had broken my heart. I didn't know what to do with all the verses and the promises and the declarations that He'd given me on this years-long journey. You know, Proverbs 13:12 says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick." But God doesn't leave us there. Because Isaiah 40:31 says, "Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength." And slowly, as I continued to read my Bible and worship, and as I continued to confide in God that I was hurt, He never left my side. I could hear Him whispering to me. And I knew that He still loved me, even though I felt hurt by Him. And I knew that He wasn't going anywhere. And eventually I realized that it wasn't God that broke my heart. It was the disappointment. I remember asking Him, "God, why would you send me this match? Why would you send me these two babies that were perfect for us, that they look just like us? Why would you send them to us and then take them to heaven?" And I remember His gentle answer to me. I remember I heard Him say to me, "Monica, I gave you that perfect match so that you would know how intricately I know every deep desire of your heart. How much I truly love you, how much I am in every single detail." And it comforted me to know that if I couldn't hold my babies here on earth, that Jesus was holding them in heaven. And eventually I came to a place where I could trust God's plan for me, even if it didn't look like I thought it would. I realized that true faith isn't believing that God can do the impossible, although He can, but true faith is believing that His plan is the best for me, even when it doesn't look like I think it should. I've learned that this trust can't be forced. I can't force my heart to trust God, and I can't will myself to want what He wants. That contentment and that peace and that trust can only come from continuously laying my hurt and my disappointment and my plans at His feet. I've learned that every battle has a purpose. The years of fighting this fertility battle prepared me for my marriage battle. 2 years ago, when the bottom fell out from underneath my marriage, I knew that I needed to fight for my marriage. I knew that I needed to pray. I asked my friends to pray. I sought counsel. But deep down inside, there was a peace in me that knew that no matter what happened, that God was walking through this with me. There was this deep knowledge in my soul that even though things might not turn out the way that I was hoping and praying, that God had a plan and it was going to be okay. Thankfully, I am standing here to tell you that I am walking out a miracle in my marriage. God has restored it and redeemed it. It is literally like a brand new marriage because God is the God of miracles. You know, I always dreamt that one day I would be standing here at a conference sharing with you my testimony. Sharing what an incredible God that we serve, all while holding a little girl named Faith Marie. And although I believe that can still happen, what I am standing here holding is actually far greater. Because I am standing here with a contentment that does not equal giving up, I'm standing here with a contentment and a peace that knows that God's plan is the best for me. I'm standing here with a faith that will not be shaken, a foundation that will not be moved, and a deep, deep knowledge that we do serve an incredible God whose purpose for us far outweighs our plans for us. Proverbs 19:21, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Thanks for listening to my story.